can. No. No, solamente un macero. We can move it. Mine's plugged in over there. There it is. Right, yeah. All right, well, welcome everybody. We are getting started. I know a couple of our usual folks are out right now. Of course, school's out, so things start to shift around a little bit. Grandkids are in town, kids are out of school. Everybody's moving around a little different. I know it is in my house. Very quiet this morning, very quiet. So yeah, although at about midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, it was, reminding my 12-year-old that bedtime still exists, and man, all of those things. So today we have an interesting topic to discuss, and it's really kind of something that I just started recently over the last 6 months to pay attention to. And as I spend a lot of time with small business owners and talking about goals, it's interesting because very rarely do small business operators, unless they're on the exit plan, talk about retirement. But every other employee does, right? And so I did a little bit of research some time ago and started to understand where did this concept of retirement come from? And so, of course, one of the things that I do when I'm looking for answers is I go to the Bible, right? I say, okay, well, here's the history of all things, and let me see what God had in store for retirement. And interestingly enough, retirement's not mentioned even once, ever in the Bible. And in fact, there's articles about why it's not mentioned in the Bible, partly because things were different back then, and although people worked differently, there wasn't as much social organization, there was no Social Security, or like I say, so-so security, and some of those things out there, right? And so there really wasn't a way to retire necessarily. What happened was multi-generational households just shifted their responsibilities. The kids were always the kids, the parents were the parents and the workers, and the grandparents or great-grandparents oftentimes were helping with the children and the household responsibilities, and that's just how it was. And then what I did find out, though, is the modern day example of what retirement is happened in about 1889 by a guy by the name of, he was a German chancellor. Hey, Marvin. He was a German chancellor named Otto von Bismarck. And he was, of course, a chancellor in Germany, and he decided that the retirement age was going to be 70 and that they would create taxation in order to help fund this retirement. Ironically, I just kind of had an inkling. I was like, 1889. I wonder how old people lived to back then, right? So I looked that up, and they only lived to 72. So it wasn't like he was really invested in this whole after work retirement process, a couple of years of whatever that looked like back then. So at some point in the future, of course, the United States started to recognize a retirement age, and it continues to shift. Retirement age means a few things. One, it means at which age you can activate a formal retirement plan, taking money out without getting fined for it, right? So the government has some tax benefits in certain types of retirement plans that say, okay, financially you can do this. And then the more research that I did, I started to realize that retirement was really a financial thing. People were talking about saving for retirement, doing things for retirement. You're in the securities business. Most of the planning process, if you sit down with a wealth advisor, or unfortunately, a lot of them call themselves retirement planners. That's what they're doing. And it's just, how much money do you need to retire is always one of the first questions that they'll ask you. And then they'll give you a spreadsheet and say, okay, fill this stuff out. How much does it cost you to live? And then they'll throw an actuary table on it, and they'll say, okay, this is what the average rate of inflation in the United States is. So your dollar today will cost you $1.30 when you retire, or whatever that is, and put some multipliers on there, add a few factors, and presto changeo, they can give you a date. If you say, I want to retire at 65, they can tell you how much money you need to have in order to live your lifestyle off of that amount of money. Very few people go in there and say, I'd really like to just be desolate. I really don't want anything, so if you could find me a nice place that I could just go sit under a rock and live my life, that'd be it. But really what seems to be missing today is what are we going to do? You know, a lot of times people talk about retirement, and really all they're talking about is the financial capability to stop working my day job, whatever that looks like. And so I pulled up some experts here to help us with what is retirement, and this is what we started with.
What does retirement mean? Retirement is where you reach a certain age where it's more difficult for you to work.
I think it's like when you're in work and you're a long time and you feel like you want to get out. That's what it is.
You get free money from your past work experience.
Free money,
and
guys,
you can
free money.
do whatever you want.
Yeah, it seems fun because you get to go on vacation a lot. You can go places like France and maybe Paris.
Like rest, kind of do chores around the house or like take a vacation to get as far as away as you want from the kids.
All the people that, you maybe went to work and said, looks like I gotta deal with them again.
Retirement is when you think, I've done my part, and you say to your job manager, goodbye, so long, try to find someone else that's better than me.
I think it is that you're so exhausted. You're really, really exhausted and you're just really tired.
When I retire, I'm going to be 26.
All right.
You just
I need to
quit
talk to
your
that kid.
job and you go home, sleep in your PJs, and probably never get out of your PJs.
Whenever you say, I'm too old for this, and then you sit at home and yell at the computer screen.
Retirement is when you just don't understand why they don't make the buttons on the remote bigger. You don't understand why all these young whippersnappers drive so fast, and your back hurts every time you bend over to feed your dog, and you started getting interested in
She's
getting
got
more
it.
and more cats, and you said, dang, I'm really sick of all these people at work, and you just want to go travel the world and be by yourself and buy all these clothes for your grandchildren and just have more fun with your life. You don't have to worry about all the ignorance that you used to work with, and you can just go travel the world.
Yeah, so no worries about any more ignorance. That all goes away when you retire. And so, yeah, just some really good stuff there. I thought it was really interesting because what's really funny is when I talk to people about retirement after I found a pretty good interest in it, a lot of adults sound just like those kids. They really do. Some of them are going to go to Paris or France or somewhere like that, and some of them are going to sit in their PJs all day and watch movies, and some of them are going to hang out with their grandkids. And it was really interesting because obviously these kids have heard things from their parents, especially that girl at the end there who has heard a lot from her parents, and perhaps they didn't like their job very much, or the ignorant people they had to work with. But in the meantime, finding out what retirement is really all about is really kind of a challenge for us. So one of the things that I'm going to challenge us to do is really start to redefine what retirement is. And so there's a really good TED Talk that I'm going to share real quick. It's about 13 minutes long, but it's really well done, and it talks about the 4 phases of retirement. And this is kind of, of course, Dr. Riley's examples of what he understands retirement to be through his experience with people, and really good stuff. And so after that, we're going to open up some conversation. I brought a little bit of a retirement checklist with me. And one of the things that I think is going to be super important as we redefine retirement is the thought process that just like we were when we were young and setting goals of what we want to do when we grow up, and then once we grew up and realized that might not be what we wanted to do, or things have changed, or we had talents we didn't know, or God just took us in a different direction, then we refine that and continue to have a drive to succeed. We should still have that drive to succeed in retirement. It should certainly be a time when we have more control over what it is that we do each day. But really, I hear a lot of today's talk about retirement shouldn't even be a thought process. If we're not traveling when we're healthy, then we're not going to enjoy it when we're not. I think this girl talked about how bad the back hurts when you just bend over to feed your dog, right? And so we want to make sure that we're doing things while we're still active. And so if we have these goals that we want to set during retirement, maybe some of them should bleed over into our non-retirement days, or kind of redefining what retirement is. So we'll check out what Dr. Riley Moynes has to say about the 4 phases of retirement and then we'll open up for some great discussion.
Everyone says you have to get ready to retire financially. And of course you do. But what they don't tell you is that you also have to get ready psychologically. Who knew? But it's important for a couple of reasons. First, 10,000 North Americans will retire today and every day for the next 10 to 15 years. This is a retirement tsunami. And when these folks come crashing onto the beach, a lot of them are going to feel like fish out of water without a clue as to what to expect. Secondly, it's important because there is a very good chance that you will live 1/3 of your life in retirement. So it's important that you have a heads up to the fact that there will be significant psychological changes and challenges that come with it. I belong to a walking group that meets early 3 mornings a week. Our primary goal is to put 10,000 steps on our Fitbits, and then we go for coffee and cinnamon bun. So as we walk, we've gotten the habit of choosing a topic for discussion. And one day the topic was, how do you squeeze all the juice out of retirement? How's that for 7 o'clock in the morning? So we walk and we talk, and the next day we go on to the next topic, but the question stayed with me because I was really having some challenges with retirement. I was busy enough, but I really didn't feel that I was doing very much that was significant or important. I was really struggling. I thought I had a pretty good idea of what success looked like in a working career, but when it came to retirement, it was fuzzier for me. So I decided to dig deeper, and what I discovered was that much of the material on retirement focuses on the financial and or the estate side of things. And of course, they're both important, but just not what I was looking for. So I interviewed dozens and dozens of retirees, and I asked them the question, how do you squeeze all the juice out of retirement? What I discovered was that there is a framework that can help make sense of it all. And that's what I want to share with you today. You see, there are 4 distinct phases that most of us move through in retirement. And as you'll see, it's not always a smooth ride. In the next few minutes, you'll recognize which phase you're in if you're retired. And if you're not, you'll have a better idea of what to expect when that time comes. And best of all, you'll know that there is a phase 4, the most gratifying, satisfying of the 4 phases, and that's where you can squeeze all the juice out of retirement. Phase 1 is the vacation phase, and that's just what it's like. You wake up when you want, you do what you want all day, and the best part is that there is no set routine. For most people, phase 1 represents their view of an ideal retirement. Relaxing, fun in the sun, freedom, baby. And for most folks, phase 1 lasts for about a year or so. And then, strangely, it begins to lose its luster. We begin to feel a bit bored. We actually miss our routine. Something in us seems to need one. And we ask ourselves, is that all there is to retirement? Now, when these thoughts and feelings start to bubble up, you have already moved into phase 2. Phase 2 is when we feel loss and we feel lost. Phase 2 is when we lose the big 5, significant losses, all associated with retirement. We lose that routine. We lose a sense of identity. We lose many of the relationships that we had established at work. We lose a sense of purpose, and for some people, there is a loss of power. Now, we don't see these things coming. We didn't see these losses coming, and because they happen all at once, it's like poof, gone. It's traumatic. Phase 2 is also when we come face to face with the 3 Ds: divorce, depression, and decline, both physical and mental. The result of all of this is that we can feel like we've been hit by a bus. You see, before we can appreciate and enjoy some of the positive aspects associated with phase 3 and 4, you are going to, in phase 2, feel fear, anxiety, and quite even depression. That's just the way it is. So buckle up. Get ready. Fortunately, at some point, most of us say to ourselves, hey, I can't go on like this. I don't want to spend the rest of my life, perhaps 30 years, feeling like this. And when we do, we've turned a corner to phase 3. Phase 3 is a time of trial and error. In phase 3, we ask ourselves, how can I make my life meaningful again? How can I contribute? The answer often is to do things that you love to do and do really well. But phase 3 can also deliver some disappointment and failure. For example, I spent a couple of years serving on a condo board until I finally got tired of being yelled at. You see, one year, the board decided that we were going to plant daffodils rather than the traditional daisies. And we got yelled at. Go figure. I thought about law school, thinking perhaps of becoming a paralegal, and then I completed a program on dispute resolution. It all went nowhere. I love to write, so I created a program called Getting Started on Your Memoirs. That program has met with limited success. It's been a rocky road for me too, and I told you to buckle up. Now, I know all this can sound bad, but it's really important to keep trying and experimenting with different activities that'll make you want to get up in the morning again. Because if you don't, there's a real good chance of slipping back into phase 2, feeling like you've been hit by a bus, and that is not a happy prospect. Not everyone breaks through to phase 4, but those who do are some of the happiest people I have ever met. Phase 4 is a time to reinvent and rewire. But phase 4 involves answering some tough questions too. Like, what's the purpose here? What's my mission? How can I squeeze all the juice out of retirement? You see, it's important that we find activities that are meaningful to us and that give us a sense of accomplishment. And my experience is that it almost always involves service to others. Maybe it's helping a charity that you care about. Maybe you'll be like the old coots. Yeah, these folks took a booth in the local farmers market and were prepared to give their advice based on their vast years of experience to anyone who came by. So one of their first visitors was a kid who wanted help with his math homework on his tablet. They did the best they could. Or maybe you'll be like my friend Bill. I met Bill a few years ago in a 55-plus activity group. In the summer, we golfed together and walked together and bicycled together, and in the winter, we curled. But Bill had this idea that we should exercise our brains as well. He believed that there was a tremendous pool of expertise and experience in our group, and so he approached a number of folks and asked if they would volunteer to teach some of the things that they love to do to others. And almost invariably, they agreed. Bill himself taught 2 sessions, one on iPads and one on iPhones, because we were smart enough to know that a number of our members had been given these things as gifts at Christmas by their children, and that they barely knew how to turn them on. The first year, we offered 9 programs, and there were 200 folks signed up. The next year, that number expanded to 45 programs with over 700 folks participating. And the following year, we offered over 90 programs and had 2,100 registrations. Amazing, amazing. That was Bill. Our members taught us to play bridge and mahjong. They taught us to paint. They taught us to repair our bicycles. We tutored and mentored local school kids. We set up English as a second language programs for newcomers. We had book clubs. We had film clubs. We even had a few golf clubs. Exhausting, but exhilarating. That's what's possible in phase 4. And do you remember the 5 losses that we talked about in phase 2? Loss of our routine and identity and relationships and purpose and power. In phase 4, these are all recovered. It is magic to see. Magic. So, I urge you to enjoy your vacation in phase 1. Be prepared for the losses in phase 2. Experiment and try as many different things as you can in phase 3, and squeeze all the juice out of retirement in phase 4.
Pretty good outlook. Yeah, I really liked the way he brought everything together, because although he did touch on the financial components, it wasn't necessarily the most important piece of what was going on there, right? And so I'll hand out a little checklist that we created and we use in our company, and the checklist was all financial, pretty much, you know. And so we actually added the first thing on the list last and recently, as we started to help people to understand, as they're working towards whatever their goals are today, they should always be looking into the future enough to at least have some thoughts on what that looks like going forward. Right across the street from here is a Del Webb community. Del Webb, back in 1960, created the first ever in America retirement community. And it's kind of funny to think about, because for most of us, we've grown up seeing them pop up all over the place. And in fact, I'm surrounded by them right here. There's 2 apartment complexes behind us. One of them is an independent living apartment complex that offers some services. Del Webb straight across the street, right where I live now, and Marvin knows this place over here. They're building apartments over the retail area over there, all 55 and up. And so, you know, there used to be a thought process that people who are in that phase of life didn't necessarily want to be alone, until they realized they could actually leave the noise and all the kids and all the chaos and the ignorant people they worked with, and they could go enjoy themselves at a place with like-minded people of similar stage of life. And so it was pretty cool. I thought that retirement communities were always around, you know, and to realize it's relatively new, you know, in our country's timeline and all over the world. They really didn't exist. So as we continue to go forward, let's talk a little bit about this. So how many of you have thought about retirement in a stage? And so, oh, by the way, actually plan these agendas way in advance. So Pat, although it seems like this was just for you, this is right. This was planned a couple months ago to talk about, and so yeah. So.
Well, I'll say a few things. First is on the financial side, because that's been my wheelhouse for
Mm-hmm.
many years. What's interesting on the financial side is most financial planners in the industry have been trained to help you accumulate for retirement. So when you hear the terminology retirement planning, most of the time that's what their focus is going to be, and that's important. It's important to accumulate as much as you can, know what your target financial amount is, and be accumulating toward it. So that's important. But what many have not been trained to do is once you retire, how do you distribute your wealth that you've accumulated and strategically stream it out so that you don't run out of money, right? So there's two phases to the financial aspect of retirement planning. One is distribution, and one is accumulation, and one is distribution. So keep that in mind.
Absolutely. On the checklist, number 11 specifically goes over that because it's important. And then there's another section talking about budgets, number 3, where we start to understand what do we need to live off of, and then what's bonus money. You know, when we're going to take that trip to Paris, as the kids suggested, and need a little extra in our year, and when's the right time to do that. So Renee's absolutely correct. We've got to really have some strategic plans. Who else has kind of had some considerations about retirement and thoughts about that? Brandon?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I can't lift my hand.
That's right. Or apparently as fast either, Marvin. Right? So Brandon, what's it like to serve on a POA board?
Oh, yeah, I'm kind of the yes guy. Like, hey, do you want to do that? Sure, that sounds great. Let's do it. Signed up for it. Yeah. So, no, I am the HOA president.
I know. Yeah.
It is exactly like that, what he described. You know, you pick something out, it's like, you are not going to please everybody. We're doing lighting, you know, with Paul from our group.
Yep.
And he's been great. And like any project, it's never perfectly seamless.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's always something that comes up, which is fine. Project's still in the works. It's coming along. And, you know, we ran into an issue where the distributor sent different color lighting. It wasn't supposed to be the bright, like, sports field light. Well, we recognized that very quickly, and we're in the process of trying to get that swapped out. But we've already had the, hey, I can't open my window. It looks like the sun. You know, like
Right. Really? Yeah. Really?
Like,
Right.
wow. Okay. And the only response is, yeah, we're still working on this. You know, like, give us some time. But yeah, people are very quick to jump on stuff as soon as you make a difference.
Send him that song, I Wear My Sunglasses at Night by, who played that song? Corey Hart, right, perfect,
So,
yep.
Yeah, I mean, I consider myself in the younger side of things, and, you know, I've always looked at, literally, I mean, I have moments since I was like 8 where I can identify where my brain went on this path of trying to understand, you know, financially. My parents were great at helping me understand needs versus wants. And kind of fast forward, you know, I'm in the car a lot, so I get a chance to listen to a lot of things, and I spend that time. Music is great, but I also like to, you know, feel like I had a productive drive. A lot of podcasts out there, a lot of information. YouTube is great. I'll just pull up anything kind of financially or maybe realtor related because I'm curious about, you know, like what's going on in the world of, you know, homes and businesses, etc. You know, Dave Ramsey is a big one. I like to listen to him. Bigger Pockets. You know, there's just all these out there, and they're all different concepts that are sort of centered around the same thing. Another one is the FIRE community. The FIRE community, if anybody's heard that, is financial independence, retire early. And I don't strive to be that, but what it is, I really appreciate that they're determining what is it that they really need as an individual at a certain point to make sure that those needs are covered versus what they want. What is it that I want to get out of life? So what these young people are looking for, they're trying to retire by maybe 30. And the idea is when they hit 30, they feel that they have enough income to cover their needs, and anything after that is simply what can I do to earn my want, without having to feel like I am chained down to a particular corporate office or somebody telling me what to do. They feel like they're autonomous. They have control of themselves, so that way they can go out and spend time with their friends. So if they want to go to Paris, France, they may not be staying at the Ritz, but they're perfectly happy staying in a place, maybe a hostel, maybe something a little bit nicer than a hostel, but they don't need a lot. They just want to have that independence. So there's different mentalities that you can focus on. Where do you want to be at what point in time? And I think a lot of that comes back to needs versus wants. So.
Agree 100%. That's great. Really good. Marvin?
Do you need help?
That's right. All right. Marvin? Yeah. That's you, Marvin.
That's me.
Right.
Number one, it's so important who you hang with, who your friends are. You know, if you want to go in a certain direction, get some like-minded people around you. And like that guy right there, I could hang with him.
Oh yeah, man.
He matches up with my personality, I think. At least that's how
Yeah.
he makes me feel.
Good humor, intelligent. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the humor side.
Right. That's right. I meant him, Marvin.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, and everybody is different. So like, and their plans, like he has 4 plans. I never went through, I'm 66. I never went, I know I don't look like it, but I don't think so far I haven't gone through phase 2. I retired, semi-retired 2 years ago from Tide, and I started my own business because I didn't want to take that phase 2. That's just me.
Right.
I got a buddy, he's living phase 2 right now, and he hadn't got bored yet, but he kind of has, but not a whole lot. But and that's why it's just, you know, everybody's that plan looks different for everybody, your personality, how you're wired, what your wants and needs are. You know, just we have different priorities, but that was real. That's so far, that's right on. I'm kind of in. I mean, I guess I'm in phase 3. I haven't hit phase 4. Phase 4 would be nice.
Yeah.
You know, part of that problem is, to be honest, I didn't set myself up financially to do that, especially when I went into business for myself. It's a whole different ballgame. But,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really.
I think you went back to pre-phase 1.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
As it's growing, it's becoming more like phase 1
Yeah.
instead of phase 3. I mean, I enjoy what I do, but it's growing bigger than I wanted to, which is good. But and I've added product to it, you know, and number one, when you add more product, at first it costs more, and it's more work, it's more time.
Yep.
You know? And it's a whole lot of changes. Last year, you know, most of you know I had my motorcycle accident, and that threw me back a year. This year, man, I'm looking for another gear in that motorcycle. 'Cause I
Right.
can go faster.
Right. Right. Hang out with Brandon.
Yeah.
Right. Right. How about some of the younger folks? Oh, go ahead, Renee.
Sorry, I'm a repeat speaker here, but I was going to say, Pat and I read a book a few years ago. It's very interesting for something you might want to pick it up. It's called How to Retire Happy, Wild, and Free.
Happy, wild, and free.
Happy, Wild, and Free.
Sounds
And
dangerous.
It's all on this topic of the non-financial side of it. And if I were to summarize the book in a few sentences, the author talks about how to explore, just spend time exploring mentally, what do I enjoy doing, and what if I had all the time in the world and money weren't a thing. Of course, money is a thing, but you can just dream, right? Where would I travel? What would my hobbies be? What would my, who would I hang with, and blah, blah, blah. So it's just a whole book on that to help you kind of start dreaming and thinking outside the box.
Right. For sure. Outside, whatever. Yeah. And that whole phase 3 concept should be something we're preparing for before we get there, right? So we can hopefully, like Marvin said, try and avoid phase 2.
Skip phase 2.
Yeah, I think you can. I think that's kind of the goal, and kind of what I really wanted to present today. How do we avoid phase 2? Hey, in life, I've experienced phase 2 a couple of times where I was kind of running around without a purpose. I felt like I was doing a lot of things. I just didn't know why or what the end goal was. I just was doing it. And I think we all get that way sometimes in our careers and in our lives. And so phase 2, I think, exists outside of retirement too. But yeah, how do we recognize it? What do we do to get out of it? Last week we talked about burnout and trying to keep the fire alive. And I think that that's really the biggest takeaway for the message today is that, hey, we need to remember that God has plans for us even when we're in whatever retirement looks like. We shouldn't feel like we have to stop. So
When before I retired from Tide, I sat there and evaluated a lot of that, and I thought, well, one option is retire, sit on the couch, watch TV, get up, eat, go watch more TV, get up, eat, watch more TV, and go to bed, and then the next day wake up, watch
right.
until you die. And I'm going, that don't sound too good to me. But some people can relax. My wife is a homebody, but she's also somebody that's pretty involved in church and different things and volunteering. But I can't, when I was out last year, I sat in that house for hours looking out the window because I'm not much of a TV watcher.
Yeah.
I get real good friends with the squirrels.
Right. Right. Even to today, right?
That's just not me.
I'm going to pull something back in that
Yeah.
actually David said a number of weeks ago, and what you said, surrounding yourself with the right people. And you had brought up Proverbs 15:22, which is plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. So that was one that stuck with me because it made sense that, yeah, you're absolutely right. You are, I guess, sort of a product of your environment, but you put yourself in the right group, you absolutely succeed.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm very curious to know when you get to stage 4 what you're going to teach us.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be here.
That's right.
I'll be in Paris.
Oh, he'll be in Paris, right? That's right.
Yeah, to bounce off of that.
Not dealing with those ignorant people back at work.
But that's what's so important to bounce off of what you said. This group here is so important to me because I love hanging out with you guys, number one, and the material is just so good. It's really good. I hate to miss because it's just part of the picker-upper in the middle of the week, and it puts my mind in the right place, which it needs to be put in the right place.
All of us. How about you, Turquoise, Mateos, Ian, Cassie? What are your thoughts on retirement?
So, God has given me several ideas for nonprofit organizations. So I hope by the time I retire, I can spend my time volunteering and running my nonprofit. My husband and I also have discussed having a bed and breakfast.
Oh, very cool.
And, spending the rest of what's left of our lives running our bed and breakfast. I've even dreamed about that. So
That's awesome.
Where
Well,
do you have it? Like, is there a location that you're like, ooh, I'd like to have it in Seattle or like some?
no, God hasn't revealed it to me yet, but I pictured a small town.
small town. Yeah, places like Brenham and places like that have these cute ones. Do you go to them?
Oh, I've visited a couple before. I prefer that over a hotel.
Oh, yeah.
It's more personal. So I can just really, even though times are changing, I feel like it could still be successful.
Oh, I agree 100%. I think more and more people use them now than ever because of the Airbnb concept and VRBO, and a lot more people are going to places like that. So I think that'd be great, and you get to interact with people. So.
Oh, by the way, when you get in that business, I do a lot of cleaning for those on the inside.
Yeah, right. Got it. Little shameless plug there, right?
I'm still around.
Yeah, that's right. How about you, Mateos?
You know what? I'm already living retirement.
All right.
I feel like I'm living my life the best. Before I used to think that I'm gonna retire when I'm gonna be like 65, but no, you can enjoy your life. And because one of the things that I was thinking last time, that why should I go travel whenever I'm gonna be 60, 68, when I'm not gonna be able to have that energy to go here. Well, maybe I can do it right now that I'm young and have the energy and the capacity. In the meantime, I'm working,
Doing what you
for
enjoy doing.
myself. And then that way, one day, 65 years old, and maybe I can go see more like friends, family, and I don't have to go wild. And I'm working on like having several businesses, right now that I have the energy, but yeah, everybody is different, I feel like some of them, they are running, and some of them, they are walking. I feel like I'm in the middle.
Yeah, good. That's good, man. It's good to identify that stuff too, so you know. Ian, what were you told growing up that a retirement was about?
Retirement was about?
Or did you ever have people talk about retirement?
They never talk to me about
That's right.
I don't really know. It just kind of seems like people just kind of sat around a lot of times, like my grandparents and stuff.
Right.
And I realized that's not really what I wanted to do. So I feel like from the video, the phases that it talks about has a lot of correlation in just everyday life.
That's right.
Where you are, it doesn't have to be a retirement. And I definitely see the correlation with coming out of high school. I just came out of high school like 2.5 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's like,
Back in the old days when I was in high school. Yep. 2 years ago. Yeah.
I feel like coming out of high school might be a very similar thing, where you just kind of feel lost for a little bit, and then you have to find your passion.
Absolutely.
And I feel like retirement, like the people who really that are out there living their best lives now today, that I'm actually paying attention, I realize it's the people that are still working. People that are living almost as Mateus is saying, which is kind of how I want to live, is don't wait till 60 to live your retirement. Start
Right.
now today, start living your best life, doing the things that you want to do, because that comes with fulfilling your passions.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really glad you brought that up too, because the 4 phases are identically like what it is like growing up. You kind of get out of the house and you have the vacation phase, freedom. I can do what I want now, right? And then you realize you might not have the financial capabilities to do that, and if you do, fantastic. But if not, then you're going to go through that period of, gosh, I just got out of school and now I'm doing something that I thought I was really going to love. Some people bypass too. Some people are like, this is it. I feel motivated and inspired every day. But a lot of people don't. They kind of go through that like, gosh, I thought this was what I wanted to do. And so they have to go into phase 3 to reinvent themselves, try some things and see what they like and what they're responding to and how they're doing at it, so they can get to phase 4. And unfortunately, phase 4 changes sometimes too. We kind of get through a period and then something changes. And I think about major things in life, like the loss of a spouse or a partner or something like that, whether it be through death or divorce, and things change in life, and then we've got to kind of go back to the beginning and say, gosh, where are we at? And so this is not something that I think is just specific to retirement, but something that we should be focused on all the time. I highly recommend that throughout the times we talk about, focusing on our businesses and quarterly game plans and annual strategic plans, we need to include one of those for ourselves on a regular basis. And I really like the thought process of kind of creating and reconciling a meaningful checklist. What am I doing in my time that I feel is meaningful? And so, yeah, just producing work has to happen, right? And I do feel good after a good day's work. I would say I feel great after a good workout, but it's been so long, I don't remember. But, those kind of things where it's like, man, after a good workout, after a good day's work, I do feel good. I feel like I've accomplished something, checked a bunch of stuff off the list of stuff to do. But what am I doing that's meaningful? And if we're checking on that on a regular basis, I think we need to add to that, and what am I going to do that's meaningful over the next period of time that I'm going to evaluate, so that I don't lose sight of the feeling that I'm really looking for and what's going to keep me alive today and into the future, so that I don't have those feelings and get to that point where I'm just kind of lost again back in phase 2 trying to figure it out. So.
According to what you said, I think that, like, yes, we do go through phases, right? Like the 4 phases, and then sometimes we'll fall back into other phases. Yes. And I think that like really discourages
Absolutely.
us a lot of times. But I've realized once I get back to that stage that I once was at, I'm even better in that position.
Oh, yeah.
And I've come a long way. I've learned what I've needed to learn because I was in that position for a reason. And now I'm making that phase even better than it was before.
Absolutely. And as we mature, we compound, and that's absolutely so true. So true. Well, we're about 10 minutes away, so we did want to take a moment to celebrate a retirement. And so, yeah. So, not to name any names, Pat, but Pat, that's right. Who would like to go ahead and retire? But Pat, we'd like to celebrate you and pray for you. And so the official day was yesterday?
Well, today.
Are you going to actually show up to work today? No.
Yesterday was my last day. I sent my equipment in.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Awesome. So, yes.
I will say, as you're talking, the purpose, the purpose-driven life, you need a purpose. And so, I'm retiring from that job, but I'm not retired from going out, maybe having another project or job to do.
Right, absolutely. And our ultimate goal is for you to eliminate number 2. You now learn that that's a thing to look out for.
I've been going through number 2 as I know that I was going to be, leaving.
Yeah, for sure. I think we've all gone through some number 2 in our lives, Pat. So, right.
Like Ian said, you go out and you come back in and you get stronger.
So, did Renee's honey-do list get bigger?
It sure is.
Yeah,
I experienced that, by the way. I mean, if you're working from the office, some people, not mentioning names, like you said, think you're just sitting at home. So, man, I got a task list right there. I got 20-some items on it today. But yeah, I'm just jacked.
No, it's true.
right? No, it's the truth, right? They don't talk about that phase, right? Right?
Oh, that's
the honeydew phase, right? The honeydew phase. Well, if it's okay with everybody, we'll pray for you, Pat. And
And let's share this.
Absolutely. All right. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the opportunity to visit today and to celebrate Pat, Lord. Thank you for the time that he served others, the years that he's been through different things and phases in his life, through challenges in the workplace and the people that he's inspired that he didn't even know he touched. Lord, we hope that you continue to bless him, bless his family, bless his home, bless his bride, and give them the opportunity to really enjoy what it is that we call retirement here. Help him to find phase 4 really fast, Lord, and help him to get a chance to serve others in the time that he has and to continue to be a blessing to all the people he gets a chance to be around, Lord. Continue to bless him in his retirement and all that he touches. All this we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Yeah, so congratulations, Pat. Does anyone have anything else to add?
I just wanted Mateos to know when I was in school and I was getting out of school and graduating, I did want to be a hairstylist. I had a friend of mine, really good, his name was Tom Bird, and I shoveled his sidewalk every morning when it snowed, and I'd go back and I'd steal cream soda out of his Coke machine. I'd unscrew the back of it and the rails, and I'd get me a cream soda. But I just liked that guy, and I wanted to be like him because as he was a barber, but I wanted to be a barber and get to talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fun part.
It's really good whenever you talk to them because you can get to know different people, the way that they behave, different personalities. So
what they're going through, and you
what
can
they're
pray
going
for them.
through.
Next time they come back, man, you can talk about it and just build relationships
Yes.
with people.
Mhm.
And that's what I really enjoy. But that's the main reason I did it
That's one of the things
full-time.
why I'm doing haircuts is because I like the connection.
Yeah.
Not because of the hair, but because of the communication.
Right. Very true.
But that was something growing up as a kid. Everybody asked, what do you want to do? I want to be a barber.
Be a barber, yep.
Yeah. And that'd been cool if I'd have done that.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot to mention one thing. Whenever I want to be retired, I want to help people to share my knowledge, like they.
All good. Well, awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Please enjoy some time with Pat and his fruit basket. So, right? But, Pat, congratulations, man.
Oh, thank you.
This is awesome. Very cool. All right. Hey, real quick plug, too. In 2 weeks, Josh Cherry's going to be back. We've talked about marketing several times. I've had the pleasure of working with Josh on a project for a company we just launched. And he's going to bring some great insights. Be prepared to listen fast that day and get maybe 2 or 3 pens handy because he speaks fast and has a lot of information to cover in our short period of time. But thanks for joining us today, Josh, and we look forward to hearing from you in a couple weeks, and we'll go from there. All right. Awesome, everybody. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. You're welcome back.
Send that video to us?
Of course.
Man, talk about talking fast. I'm sitting there typing, I go, I can't go as fast as he talks. But it's